Hello, welcome. Today we are going to build us an Escort Passport remote power cable. This is more for necessity than cost because you can buy one on eBay for about $10 to $15 without a fuse. We're going to build one with the fuse. So we'll start. Looking at the RJ11, we're going to use the two wires to the far right. On this phone line, it's going to be a red and a black wire, and there's a green and a yellow. We're going to clip off the green and the yellow, saving the red and the black for power and ground. Obviously black is ground. So red will be the third wire, black will be the fourth wire. We're going to strip away the insulation on both wires. Next we're going to cut a piece of heat shrink and we're going to slide it down over the phone line, and that's going to come into use a little bit later on. But this is a key component, and it's pretty important that you slide this over the phone line first. So we have a red and a black wire, and I always like to use red and black. Red for power, black for ground. And we're going to strip off the insulation on the black, and we're going to use a barrel connector without plastic coating on it. I like to use these because they make a little bit cleaner install. So you just go out and buy yourself some plain barrel connectors. We're going to crimp it onto the wire. And in all your jobs, if you find that you do a lot with the plastic barrel connectors, you're really going to like the plain ones because it allows you to just slide your heat shrink over it, and then you can crimp it onto the wire or cable that you're working with. And once you bring the heat shrink back over your connector and shrink it into place, it gives you a lot cleaner looking cable when it's all finished. So here we go, sliding our heat shrink over both black wires. And my crappy little lighter that's about out of fluid is going to melt the heat shrink onto the wire. So now we're done with our negative, our ground wire. So we take our red wire and we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to strip the insulation off of one end on each wire. I'm going to take a female connector and I'm going to crimp it onto the first wire. And I'm going to do the same on the other wire. Ultimately, these female connectors is what is going to hold the fuse into place. So just for giggles, I'm using a 7.5 amp fuse. Your radar detector is going to need a 1 amp fuse, a 1 amp fuse. Very good idea to use a fuse when you're doing a wire directly from your battery or from a fuse box to power your radar detector. Doesn't make sense to have a $300 radar detector and have it unprotected when it only costs a few cents to put a fuse in there. So we take our fuse and we put our female connectors on it, and then we take a short piece of heat shrink and pull it up over the wires to the bottom of the female connectors. That's going to snug up our female connectors and hold them in place, and then we're going to shrink the heat shrink down, melt it onto the wires. So this is going to make the connectors almost permanently in that position. This application is going to be for a motorcycle, so I can hook a Passport 8500 X50 onto a motorcycle. So I'll bury this somewhere under the bike with the fuse. So I'm going to cut a bigger piece. Fortunately, I don't have any black. I prefer black over the yellow, but the yellow is available. And I'm going to heat this, and what this is going to do is take the tops of the female connector and just give it a permanent bond, a solid bond. So when I pull the fuse out, those connectors aren't going to move around and wiggle around and go anywhere that I don't want them to be. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to strip off the end of one of the red wires. I'm kicking my ass there a little bit. I'm going to put another barrel connector on it and crimp it down. Then I'm going to take my barrel connector and I'm going to crimp it down on the red wire on my phone line. And that's going to be the third wire over. So now I have power and ground hooked up to my phone line. And next I take my heat shrink and I slide it down over the new wires. And I'm going to cut another piece of heat shrink and I'm going to put it over that little end piece that's sticking out there. So then you just take your lighter and shrink the wrap up onto your new cable that you built. And once that shrink wrap is melted onto your cable, it'll be just like you bought it from the store. So this is pretty much the end of how you build your cable. I hope this helped you out. If it did, please do click on the banner links that are on any of these videos. If you're watching someone's video and they have a banner on the bottom of it, hit that banner, because that 2 or 3 cents that we make when you click that banner kind of helps out a little bit. It motivates us to make more videos if we can help you out. Thanks for watching, and safe travels.